I still remember the time I was a little boy, the day that my brother set the house on fire. It was a cold Sunday morning, the fireplace was fired up, and we were all very excited about my father's big promotion at the firm. One of the biggest achievements in my father's career up to that point in his life. The garage door was still broken since the burglars entered our home a week before and stole some of my mother's precious jewelry from the late 1200s. She had gotten them from her great-grandmother, who was friends with the Queen of Belize at the time. We were all eating crab soup, and my father told me about the craziest story he had witnessed at his job. One of his colleagues, Josh, was doing about 120 miles per hour one morning trying to not be late for work, but his brakes failed as he tried to slow down into the employee's parking lot. His car did a cartwheel as it ran over a wild boar that just happened to be there. Talk about being the wrong animal at the wrong place in the wrong moment. Anyways, the car eventually stopped cartwheeling and settled onto the pavement next to the big olive tree. Luckily, no one was injured, except for the wild boar, who only sustained minor injuries. My father had only worked for that firm for a year and a half at the time. After the incident, everybody proceeded to enter the cinema that they had at the company to watch a movie about the safety of bungee jumping. It also included the story of this boy, Jimmy Malkins, and his first time bungee jumping. He was 8 years old, in grade school, and he watched a film about people in New Guinea and the rite of passage that was bungee jumping. There was a bit about the length and tensile strength of the vines used and the chances of a broken neck. This was the 60s, and that was the coolest, craziest thing he'd ever heard of. It is an activity that involves a person jumping from a great height while connected to a large elastic cord. The launching pad is usually erected on a tall structure such as a building or crane, a bridge across a deep ravine, or on a natural geographic feature such as a cliff. It is also possible to jump from a type of aircraft that has the ability to hover above the ground, such as a hot air balloon or helicopter. The thrill comes from the free falling and the rebound. When the person jumps, the cord stretches and the jumper flies upwards again as the cord recoils, and continues to oscillate up and down until all the kinetic energy is dissipated. If you use an helicopter for this, just make sure you don't fly towards the blades of the helicopter. My brother, during the story that my father was telling, had a drill in his hand because he had to hook a mount in one of the ceiling joists to hang one of his favorite chandeliers. He started to drill a hole and let the drill bit get too hot and the joist caught on fire. At that exact moment, my sister's baboon, which she had found at a fair 2 years prior, somehow managed to break free of its cage and entered the dining room. The baboon was very frightened and disoriented, and decided to leave the dining room. In the meanwhile, my brother was trying to find a way to take care of the fire he had just started. My brother never had his priorities straight, so the first thing he thought would be appropriate to do was to apologize to the family for the incident that was occurring. Needless to say, the fire kept on going, so my father decided to call his work colleague, Josh, which is always very punctual, to try and get his prompt help. He immediately hopped into his car and came rushing to our house. He got to our property eventually, doing about 120 miles per hour, but was not slowing down. We figured his car might be experiencing brake failure again, so we dove to the side.